Egypt is the oldest civilization. It is located in the northeast of Africa.
Most of Egypt is like this, hot and dry. It's pretty easy to see why we call it Deshret, the Red Land. But some of Egypt is like this. It looks green on the top, but underneath is very rich black dirt. We call this land Kemet, the Black Land. It's where we grow all of our crops. If you flew like a bird, you'd see that the Kemet is all along the banks of the Nile River. Dad says that's why Egypt is called the gift of the Nile. Sounds strange, I know, but let me explain. Egypt is mostly desert, right? But look, here, flowing through the whole length of the country, is the Nile River. It starts in the lands far to the south and travels nearly 4,000 miles to the sea up north. Every year, heavy rains far to the south wash a lot of silt, or weathered rock particles, into the river. Dad says the silt combines with leaves and branches to form a rich mix full of iron, zinc, and other things, kind of like vitamins for the soil. We call this good stuff hopi. So, every summer, all this water and hopi flow down the Nile into Egypt, flooding the land for 4 months. When the floodwaters recede, they leave the hopi behind. It makes the dirt really good for planting. First, they dug ditches and canals to trap in the floodwater. Then, during the dry season, they would open the canals and let water flow into the fields. Delivering water to crops is called irrigation. We are some of the first people to figure out how to do that.
When archaeologists began to explore the ruins of temples in ancient Egypt, they discovered strange carvings on the walls. These carvings were part of a written language developed by the Egyptian people over 5,000 years ago. This writing was called hieroglyphics by the Greeks. In the swamps along the Nile River, papyrus plants flourished. Papyrus is a marsh reed with a thick stem and flowers at the top. In ancient Egypt, these reeds were flattened under pressure and woven together to make paper that could be written on. This paper, along with the use of ink, a mixture of soot and water, allowed people to write hieroglyphics much faster. During these ancient times, the meaning of the hieroglyphics were kept secret and were understood only by the scribes.
The Nile's floodwaters are so important that we developed a way to predict when they would arrive. We watched the moon and stars very carefully in order to keep track of the river's rise and fall. Out of that, we created a really accurate calendar with 365 days. The Sumerians only have 360 days in their calendar. Our New Year starts with the first day of the flood, when the star Sirius rises directly with the sun. Then we have 4 months of Akhet, the time of flooding. 4 months of Puret, the time of sowing, when the river recedes. And 4 months of Shimu, the time of harvest and heat. Everything in Egypt revolves around the seasons of the Nile.
The Egyptians invented the first clocks known as obelixes.
To the west of the modern city of Cairo in Egypt is a large rocky plateau that sticks out of the desert sand. This plateau is called Giza. Over 4,000 years ago, large tombs were built here for the Egyptian pharaohs. They are amazing feats of engineering. 3 giant pyramids that rise high above the desert like great mountains of solid stone. Together they are called the Pyramids of Giza, and even in their crumbling state, they are considered a wonder of the ancient world.
Pyramids were built as a tomb for the pharaohs. The entire royal family would be buried in one pyramid.
passages in the pyramids are very tight and difficult to walk in.
Nobody is sure how the pyramids were built without modern machines.
We believe it took 1,000 of slaves.
This is the Sphinx. He has the body of a lion and a human head. A pyramid is a rectangular prism,
which means it has a rectangle for a base and a triangle on each side.